Hey everyone, we're back again. I'm Seth Holler, CEO of Wiser Systems.
And I am Logan Maxwell, wearer of many hats.
And today we're going to talk about process improvements using RTLS. And to get started, we'll run through a little bit of definitions for different terminologies.
Which we likely won't even get past because we'll talk about that for way too long. But it's true.
We'll probably run into some terminology that even is confusing for us, or we're not on the same page because it's used differently for different people as well.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Any first comments you want to make there, Logan?
Oh, well, I guess the reason we're talking about this is it's been top of mind. I travel to a lot of different facilities and I hear their use cases and I see their flow and their process flow of what they're making or what they're finishing, what they're assembling, or what they're repairing, right? And so a lot of the groups I talk to are in the process improvement field or continuing improvement. But even the job titles are different per industry and per facility, right? So, but what we mean when we say process improvement is really making more widgets for less inputs, right? More outputs for less inputs.
So is it effectively like production efficiency?
Production efficiency, and that can mean different things to different. So we haven't even gotten to the definitions yet, but this for production improvement, process improvement, it typically means, if you could boil it down, we're making or doing, not always making, but we're repairing or fixing or moving or changing or doing more with less.
Okay. You mentioned you're traveling around, right?
Yeah.
And so what are typically the job titles of people you're talking to? Like, is it process improvement engineer?
Yes. Yeah. I'd say first and foremost, or technical background, right? I mean, if we're trying to improve the processes of
our facility. Are you selling to engineers? Are you selling to kind of high-level executives? Like, who are the people that you're interacting with in order to install these systems?
Well, I think it's a mix, and obviously things need to be approved. But I think where the use cases come from for RTLS, or where we see the best use cases coming from, are from the technical side of the house, are from somebody that has studied their process and knows where time is being lost and where inefficiencies are. Okay. And so they're looking for some technology to fit into those places.
Okay, so like the process improvement engineers of the world, the process automation engineers, digital transformation directors, for example.
You got it.
Those are the people you're talking
to. And it can depend on the size and scale of the organization and what those people are called. But essentially, it's the same thing. Trying to make or change or do more with less.
Okay, what is automation?
Right.
So you get a call and someone tells you, hey, I want to automate our facility. And what does that mean? Or does it mean something different for different people?
You hope that's not what's said, because that is a huge, you're like, automate what? Right? Yeah. So I think, and a lot of these end up being buzzwords in that way.
Well, I mean, it is the day and age that we're trying to do more with less.
Yes.
Right? And so automation and automate come in a lot.
Yes. So automation traditionally is going to mean I'm going to take any manual process out and make something more automatic. Right? I mean, at base terms, automation. But what that can mean in practice might even mean automating a technical handoff of digital information between two devices. So it doesn't necessarily inherently mean that I'm taking somebody who used to screw in bolts and putting a robot arm to do it. Right? That's a traditional understanding of automation. But automation could mean that my robot arm is now talking to the device that it's working with and making changes of its own code. So it doesn't inherently mean I'm taking a manual process and making it automatic. It can be automated things talking together to automate further, right?
You definitely use automate a lot.
It can get confusing.
Sure. So to bring it back to earth a little bit, automation, for example, in the world of RTLS could potentially be removing manual barcode scanning from a process step.
Right. If we want to talk about examples on the RTLS side, we can dive in there. That'd be a pretty long conversation. But a classic example is, of course, taking away some sort of scan or process. And a lot of times you could even consider the time lost looking for things is automating the finding and expediting process of a facility.
Okay, let's jump to another term, RTLS. So when you're out in the field and you're talking to process improvement engineers or other people, how many of them are familiar with the term RTLS?
That's a good question. Honestly, we don't bring it up. Like I think we're classified under an umbrella of just.
So what does RTLS mean?
RTLS is going to mean a real-time location system.
Okay. But that's not a term that's used very often in industry.
I think it really depends on the familiarity of the process improvement engineers, of the continuous improvement people, of how far they've gone down researching these sorts of things. In some cases, our technology can just be lumped into RFID, which in many ways it is, right? It's just a very like kind of next level RFID
You beat me to it. That was going to be my next term.
Okay, yeah. But it's, we should probably go over that one too. But, in terms of a real-time location system, certainly we provide real-time location, but can also be thought of and conceptualized in particular with folks that aren't in the field as RFID.
By all means, I think if people know the term RTLS, that conveys a sense that they've done some research and are familiar with some of the real-time location systems out there. But by and large, there's probably a whole group of a whole other segment where that term is less familiar, right?
Yeah.
But the common term, I think, one question I had for you, RFID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is RFID associated with the term automation in some way?
It is. I think it was, right, in the initial wave of RFID,
Sure.
right, is that we're going to automate sort of these barcode scannings and automate these sorts of things. At this point in time, in the field of modern Industry 4.0 manufacturing,
Sure.
automation has divorced itself from the sort of physical RFID-based technologies and is thinking more broad towards digital twin, or like I said before,
oh man,
passing
information, term for
passing information back and forth and automating those processes. So it can and still is, but I think less so than when it first started out.
Okay, but RFID is a little bit of a catch term, right? RFID is associated with location, not necessarily real time, but it can be. And it can include a whole slew of technologies, not the traditional RFID tags that you might think of when someone mentions it as well.
Right.
So, for example, RTLS could be a subsection of RFID.
Yeah, I think so.
And in fact, as people search out technologies, they often find us through an avenue by looking at RFID technologies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you mentioned it, digital twin.
Right.
So you interact with customers. They do mention digital twin as something that they're wanting to do. What does that mean? Does it mean the same thing?
Yeah. So I think when you're talking, and if you're a process engineer, continuous improvement engineer, Industry 4.0, digital transformation officer, and you're watching this video, you probably don't know it or do know that you have a different definition of digital twin than somebody might else at a different factory, right? And I think if we zoom it out enough, we can all come to a concurrence that a digital twin is essentially trying to take a digital copy of your factory, right?
Sure, but what does that mean?
But as soon as you start zooming in from that can mean a lot of very different things.
I mean, for some people, like digital twins and mechanical engineering is basically getting an exact CAD replica of the real product or item. And that's not necessarily in a factory setting what a digital twin means for some people. Is that correct?
Right, yeah. And it may have been, etymology-wise, may have come from that. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a digital twin, digital copy of your facility. Think about you are, if we're plotting this as some sort of black box engineering diagram, you have inputs into your processes, whether those are shipments, raw materials, mm-hmm. people, time on machine. Those are all inputs, and you have outputs. And if we can map that effectively, we can then start tweaking and dialing knobs in the way that we could do that on our computer, right? So it's, well, actually, if I could put 4 less of this thing into this machine and still get the same output, we should do that, right? So it really makes a lot of sense to try to capture as much digital information about your facility as you can and create a functioning digital twin.
Got it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break here, but
we made it through the terms at least. That's pretty.
That's not
bad.
There's more to come, so I appreciate your patience, everyone. We'll be right back.